Coach Wimp Sanderson. I hope you're doing well, Coach. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
I'm doing fine, thanks.
Coach, just your thoughts, first impressions of Avery Johnson today at the press conference.
Well, I think he did a good job. I think he covered most of the things that need to be covered and got his points over, and he did a very nice job. He's a very personable guy. He's very energetic. So I think he was very good.
Coach, you know that as well as anybody. To take basketball and sell it, looks like he's going to be one of those natural salesmen.
Well, I hope so. Of course, with selling comes winning. They come together. If you say you can win, you can sell your product certainly, and that's the important thing. I'm sure he'll be able to do that. They've got to, get into the recruiting world now pretty quickly and decide how they want their team to look next year. Losing the two kids that they lost, he scored a lot of points, so they need to decide. He needs to first hire staff, and then he sort of needs to decide, what direction they want to go in their recruiting and try to get people that are available that can help his basketball team be a little bit better than it was last year.
Coach, when you look at assistant coaches, when somebody doesn't have the college experience like Avery Johnson brings to Tuscaloosa, how important will that be for him to get some proven assistants that have experience on the college game?
Well, I don't worry about the experience that he has particularly. He's been around college kids, got one. He knows the recruiting part of it. I don't think that'll be a problem. I do think it's important to get people who know about recruiting and understand it, and then can coach as well. But they're able to go into the various places, and not only in this state but in the Southeast, and talk to kids and sell the program. So, I don't worry so much about him. I think he'll do a good job. He understands that you've got to do a good job in talking with kids. I think he can do that. I know he's been in the pro circuit, has been involved with guys like that, but I think that'll come fairly easy because of his personality. And I think being a pro coach and pro player, I think it has some advantages because that's what people are looking for. You take Cal and you take Patino. They've had a lot of success coaching, not much success coaching the pros, but coaching the pros and also in college. That is the difference. They've coached in college and the pros, and of course he just coached in the pros. So maybe a tad difference, but I don't think that's going to be a major problem.
Coach, as I go back and study recruiting, obviously you did very well with recruiting. Was there an approach that you took? I mean, what was the approach that you took that led to so much success as far as recruiting here at the University of Alabama?
Well, first of all, we tried to get the coaches on our side. We tried to let the coaches know that they were part of us, we were part of them. The high school coaches felt comfortable with us. They felt comfortable coming down to games. And if they had a player, and we got some players early, they came down and improved and got better and jumped a little bit into the pros or overseas. They like that. So I think the key is to make the coaches feel like that you're one of them and they're one of you, and that you want to help them, and hopefully they'll help you. And I think, and then of course when you go into a particular place to see a particular kid, then you kind of have to figure out what in the recruiting for that particular kid. Everybody has a key. It may be the girlfriend, it may be the mother, it may be the daddy, it may be the lost uncle, who it is, but they all got a key. And so you try to figure that out, and you try to recruit players that you feel like can play for you. You'd like to have good players who are good people. You can't win with just good players who are bad people, and you can't win with just good people who are bad players. So you'd like to have a combination of both if you could. You're going to make some mistakes in recruiting. You can't help that. You just do. You sign guys who you think are going to be pretty good, and they're not. And I signed some guys who I took a chance on that wasn't sure about. They turned out to be pretty good. So the scholarship numbers are down from when I was there. We had a lot more scholarships. So you just got to be sure that the guys that you get are the right ones that fit your program. So that's not real easy to do. With the numbers the way they are, you might get 3, Auburn might get 3, as long as you get the right 3. As long as you get the 3 that you like, it'll fit your program, you're in good shape.
Coach, I go back to your days here, Coach Sonny Smith at Auburn. You look at Bruce Pearl, and you have to immediately get your attention from the promotion, the marketing standpoint. It looks like Alabama's also got one of these guys that's going to do that here at the University of Alabama. That has to be good for the state as far as high school basketball and the interest in the college game.
Well, certainly you do try to promote your program, and you would like for the fans to feel comfortable with you, and sometimes they do for a while, and then sometimes they don't. You can be a victim of your own success. You could be very successful early, and then you fall some, and they don't feel very good about you. But I think as long as they feel like that you're part of them, like the coaches, that they feel like that, you'll shake hands with them, you'll talk to them, you're appreciative of. I always tried to be very appreciative of our people that came to our games. Now, knowing me, when they didn't come, I wasn't appreciative. I let them know it. So I was interested in having people come and see Alabama play, regardless of who they played. When I was in the league, Kentucky and Arkansas, people came to see their team play, regardless of who they played. I wasn't interested in people that were just coming to see us play Auburn and us play Kentucky. If people called me and said, I'd like to have some Kentucky tickets. I haven't seen y'all play this year. I tell them to go buy some. So to me, when you get it to the point that they want to come see your team play, regardless of who you play, that's an important thing. And if the fans feel like that you're up front with them, you're appreciative of them coming. For me, you're disgusted with them when you don't come. So you got to win games in order to get that to where you want it. And you can't be too fussy if you're not winning games, but winning games covers all of it.
Coach, I was in a 30-minute roundtable discussion, and I wish that they would have allowed us to turn a mic on and listen to Avery Johnson, because I could do a little bit better job of explaining this. But one of the explanations that he went into, and it was not an off-the-record conversation, even though the microphones and the video recorders were off, he went into embracing the football side, Nick Saban, and embracing that brand of the University of Alabama. You've shared so many different times how you used the University of Alabama and Coach Bryant to sort of get your message across and to promote your program.
Well, he must have been thinking about writing the article I'm going to write, coaching basketball in a football atmosphere. I think that's important. I felt like Coach Bryant, wanted us to have good basketball. Most people didn't. Most people thought Coach Bryant left Kentucky because of Coach Bryant. Coach Bryant didn't want us to have a good team. That wasn't true. I leaned on Coach Bryant to talk to some of our players that we were trying to sign. I leaned on the football coaches to visit with some basketball players on their recruiting trips. I tried to help them in football if I could. A lot of times there were football guys that wanted to play basketball. Well, I didn't tell them they could always play. I told them we'd take a look at them, try to get them to football. And so, we sort of work together. And, if you go in and you're jealous of football or you're worried about Nick number one or Coach Bryant being number one, that's no big deal. I mean, who cares who's number one? It don't make any difference. What you got to do is have a good basketball program and try to get your team as good as you possibly can. Football is going to be good. And the other factor, too, is you better understand that football carries the bus. I mean, it drives the bus financially. And you've got to make a lot of money from football that pays a lot of coaches. So, my attitude was that we were going to do everything we could to get football to help us as much as we could, and call them and ask them to help us, and certainly not be jealous of anything that happened with the football program. It wouldn't have helped anyway.
Coach, one of the other parts, and I noticed today, Coach Avery Johnson recognized you, the winningest basketball coach in Alabama history, embracing those former players, embracing this legacy, because I remember as a kid growing up and going to Coleman Coliseum when you were the coach here and sort of sold me on Alabama basketball. How important is that, reaching out to those former players and allowing them to be a part of the program?
That's a good question, and I think the past is important. You don't want to overdo the past, because nobody really particularly cares. But I do think that if the people that come in to visit, the kids that come in to visit, look at the arena, and they see the flags that are up there. They see the pictures of the coaches and the players. They know that at one point in time, Alabama basketball has been very good. So they're not coming to so much of a football school as they think they are. It's going to be a larger basketball team, second winningest team in the SEC. So I think the past is important to put that out in front of prospects that come to Tuscaloosa. I don't think you need to dwell on it. So what? I was fortunate enough to win a bunch of games. Why did I win a bunch of games? Because I had a bunch of good players. And basically we got them to play. But I had a bunch of good players. That's what helped. And so, able to do that and get them to play hard, and that was what we tried to do. So the past is important, but it's only important to a point. That people that remember me, when they come up to me and say, "Wimp, I remember when you were coaching," the only thing I tell them is that you're real old. If you remember me, so that's the way I feel about it. I want to be not me recognized, but I want our players to be recognized. I want the basketball coach to appreciate Robert O'Reilly, Latrell Sprewell, McKinney, Farmer, God, all those guys that we had and all those. I'd like for them to thank them for coming by, introduce them to the team, tell them how good they were, those kinds of things. But you can dwell on that too much.
Coach, I don't want to dive into any type of a personal conversation, but the university's released some photos. You had a chance to talk with Coach Avery Johnson.
I did.
Would you mind sharing something that you told him?
I just told him I told him I was there for him, and if he needed me, I would be happy to help him. Certainly, I wasn't trying to coach his team. I hadn't coached any team since I coached mine. I didn't coach mine very well at times, so I wasn't. I was there to help him and do anything I possibly could for him. And the next conversation that we had would be him calling me, because I don't want to ever butt in. I don't ever, I'm darn sure what I did, when I wore a solid sport coach at the event today. I didn't want anybody to say anything about anything. So I'm happy to help him if he calls on me. If he doesn't, it's fine. I don't know what I can tell him. I can tell him a few things maybe, but I'm not politicking to do anything but support the new basketball coach.
Coach Avery Johnson, the named here in Tuscaloosa as the new basketball coach, the 20th basketball coach. We're currently visiting with the winningest basketball coach in Alabama history, Wimp Sanderson, here inside the game in Tuscaloosa. Coach, I hear a lot of people, and I was looking today, and I understand that Coleman Coliseum could maybe use some different things. Maybe you could get the attendance down closer to the court. I think when you listen to some of the national media, you listen to some of the critics, they would almost say that we play in a landfill or something. But Coleman Coliseum, to me, is a nice facility. Maybe it could use some different sort of maneuvering to get the fans a little closer to the atmosphere. Can you win in Coleman Coliseum? I mean, can you?
Well, I think Coleman Coliseum is fine. I would think that if I was coach. Hey, let's fill up Coleman Coliseum on a consistent basis, and then let's get together after that. Let's get our basketball team to where they're begging for tickets, and then we'll look at it after that. They messed with Coleman Coliseum a little bit. They improved it a little bit. They stay too close to each other, but that's okay. Just please in there, don't eat so much. I think it's fine. I don't think there's a thing wrong with it. It's not 9,000 like some places. It's not 9,000 like Ole Miss is going to build. It's not 9,000 like Auburn's built in order to have a big arena. It's 14,000 or 15,000, and I think that's good. I don't think anything needs to be done to it right now until they start winning a lot of basketball games, and then after that, then they need to see exactly where they need to go. I'm not one of those who, facilities are fine. A chance to play, go into a good program are more important. Duke plays in a barn every game. Won the national championship last time I looked. So, the facility is to me, I think the dressing rooms have to be nice. I think the lounging area has to be nice. I think the weight room has to be nice. I think the little gym has to be nice. Those things have to be nice. The big arena's fine. There's anything wrong with that. They start selling the thing out, and then go from there.
little bit away from Alabama basketball, just a generic NCAA question. I'm hearing a lot of people. I don't know enough to really. I mean, I can make a comment, but I'm a media guy that just making a comment. From your perspective, how bad are the officials in the NCAA?
Well, I don't think they're that bad. I mean, there's a lot of judgment calls in the NCAA, and look, judgment calls. The only thing disappointment I had, and that wasn't the officials' fault, was that they gave. And I was, I certainly liked Wisconsin. Bo was a friend of mine, and I was hoping they would do well because they took the 2 points. They gave them 2 points they shouldn't have had, and Kentucky would have had the ball with a 1 point lead. And to me, that bothers me. But officiating, just blocks and charges, those kinds of things, I don't really have any say-so about those. If you and I were calling the game, you thought it was blocked, and I thought it was charged. That's the way it goes. So, but it does bother me a little bit about them getting the 2 points in the basketball game. The other thing that I want people to understand, they asked me about these games, and you mentioned that, is that the one thing about coaching is that Krzyzewski does one thing. He doesn't believe in zone defense, but he plays some. And I listen to coaches all the time tell me, "Oh, we never played a zone. Oh, we never did this. Oh, we went there play a zone." He bought 4 minutes of that basketball game playing a sorry zone, but he bought the minutes to 2 guys in foul trouble. And so I think sometimes you've got to, if you can use the zone defense to your advantage, then you use it. Don't be bragging about you always use man. And the second thing, before I'm sure you need to go, but the second thing is switching on defense. They did a good job of switching. And even though they had a big man on a little man, or a little man on a big man, it didn't bother them particularly. Switching is a deal where Jenny Crum brought into play years ago. People have been doing. They switched very effectively. I didn't think Wisconsin did switch very effectively, and the Jones kid knocked them the real critical shot. So I'm not a Duke fan particularly. I've known Coach K. I flew over there one time and visited with him. But I do think those little type things, not being so stubborn that you don't. If Notre Dame had used some zone defense, they'd beat Kentucky, but they didn't. So anyway, that's a synopsis of the NCAA. I don't really have any trouble with officials. I was disappointed that Kentucky, that Wisconsin got 2 points that they didn't deserve, and I really liked Wisconsin.
Well, Coach, let's get back, as the folks in Tuscaloosa say it, let's get back to the Wimp days in Alabama basketball.
I'm sure they'll do a good job. I'll go out and support the team. I don't coach the team, and I'm not there to tell them what to do. I'm just there to support them.